This is Lee, and we're on the Game of Tongues, where we work on speech anxiety in all its forms. And we are talking with Matthew right now, and he's from California. And he's an early teenager, and we've been talking for some time now, um, a few months really. And at this point, he hasn't had a bad incident defined as appearing to be disabled, I think, in a long time. Um, he has some incidents, but not that appear to be disabled. Can you remember how long it's been? 2 months, 3 months? Can you remember? Do you
I think maybe
remember?
2 months.
2 months. Okay. Now, um, what happened since the last time we talked? Has your speech been better, worse, or about the same?
I think better.
Good. And can you tell me what you've been doing to make it better?
Mainly just been like seeing the crutches and like trying to use them more.
Okay. And do you use them? Can you give examples of when you try and use them?
Maybe even when I don't think I'll need it, I still try to use them.
Perfect. Um, that's great. The strange things about the crutches is when the day comes that they're like the fingers on your hand. They're just there when you need your fingers. They function. When it's like that, then all of a sudden you won't be needing them anymore. Very, very, very rarely. They do come in handy once in a great while. I still use one, and I enjoy it so much. I feel like it's such a victory. And of course, for me, and nobody knows it unless I tell them. Sometimes I tell my wife, in that restaurant when we were talking to so and so, I would have stuttered, but, and she just looks at me. She doesn't understand because she never stuttered, so it doesn't make any sense to her. But she finds it interesting, especially since I've written a book about it and help people. But I enjoy using them. I have people I've used to say, "Oh, I had a bad incident. I had to use crutches." And I said, "What's bad about that? That's a celebration. That's like saying I used the tennis racket to get an ace." So I mean, that's why you have the tennis racket. So it's a plus and it's fun. So, um, what have you been doing with your reading aloud?
Reading maybe about half an hour when I'm getting sleep.
Okay. And what about the auto suggestions?
I do those after I read out loud, and then and on the bus sometimes too.
So you're doing them. Are you doing them at night?
At night, and then early in the morning because I
Okay.
take the bus
All
at
right.
like
Okay. What do you want to tell me about your speech or about your thinking? What's good and what's bad?
I think what's good is I'm using the crutches more often.
Okay. And what do you think's not so good?
Mm, maybe sometimes I forget to use them.
Um, how do you feel about yourself in general? Do you think you're doing, are you happy with yourself?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with how my speech is going.
With your speech? How about
Yeah.
the rest? How about the rest of your life?
Oh, I'm pretty happy with that too.
Good. Um, what do you like to do the most?
Maybe play sports.
What sports?
Um, basketball and watch a lot of sports like
Uh-huh.
football and stuff.
You know, one of the things I would love for you to be able to embrace is something I try and get all my grandchildren to embrace. None of them stutters, but these principles go way beyond stuttering. And that is, I get them to try and do at least one autosuggestion treatment a day. It's like you go to the gym to work out to get stronger, or you go jogging to improve your ability to run. Um, Anything that you do to try and improve yourself physically, what people don't do, Matthew, most people, this includes adults just as much as younger people, they don't really have a regimen, a planned method for training their minds. And what it says in the early part of this book, the dedication to you, the reader, is a quote from a psychiatrist, and I've read it to you many times. But this applies to your entire life, and it applies to everything that you think about life. How you perceive life and how good or bad it is principally controlled by the way you look at it from here. And he says that, Dr. Caprio said that. He said, most of us go through life knowing only half of ourselves. So we use only half of our abilities. We suffer because we are strangers to ourselves. We have free choice to accept or reject thoughts. Nothing compels us to think anything except our own desires. So use your mental switch and dictate your thoughts. Believe that you can improve and you will. The message is you and you alone can control your thoughts. And you know how good or bad you think you are, or how good or bad you think your life is, really, you can change your perception of the way you look at both, the way you look at yourself and the way you look at life in general. And if you are a person who is a hard worker and always trying to do his best at whatever it is he's doing, and then if you are a loving person, you can really, when you do those things, you you're wide open to dictating positive thoughts and having positive thoughts about everything in your life. And when you do this, as you control your speech better and better, you change your autosuggestions a little bit and direct them to the way you look at your life generally. For example, I have one son who always has trouble sleeping, insomnia. And he could control his insomnia if he would control his thoughts. The same way you are controlling your speech, he could control his insomnia, but he takes pills for it. I've never taken a sleeping pill, and I can go to sleep pretty much on command and wake up pretty much when I want to wake up because I'm in control of my thoughts. And it's like going to the gym and doing this and building muscles so that you can lift heavier weights. And it's the same thing with thought control. You can control. You don't ever have to be anxious about anything. You don't have to be bored. You don't have to be depressed. You don't have to have sleep problems. You don't have to be angry. And you can maintain a positive attitude toward everything you want, including yourself. And if there's anything about yourself that you don't like, change it. And if you can't change it, then learn to accept it and do the best with it you can. There are a lot of things about ourselves we can change, a great many. But some things we can't change. And those are the things we have to learn to live with and make the most of. But in any event, the whole speech thing, one of the things you should walk away from the speech thing with is an attitude that you can beat adversity. You did it. You beat it with speech. And you can take that, and you did it through learning to control your mind. That's what the autosuggestions are all about. The crutches are tools, but the autosuggestion is the real long-term answer, because you will teach yourself and are teaching yourself, and perhaps have taught yourself, that you love to speak. I should ask that as a question. Do you feel at this point in time that you love to speak yet, do you?
Yeah, I like to speak better than before.
Good, good. I want you to love it. I want you to look forward to it like I do. Give me the mic. Let me talk to the whole school, the whole county, the whole state, the whole country. I would love it. Give me that mic right now. Hand it to me. I can't wait. I love to speak. I love to read. I'll read anything to you, anything. I love to read. It's a wonderful thing. You know, the graduate program for speaking is learning to concentrate on your positive emotions when you speak, and thinking only about your positive emotions. What is the subject? Let's say you're discussing Abraham Lincoln just for fun. And this man was, when he was president, he was the most unpopular president in the history of the United States. Did you know that?
Yeah.
And of course, you know he was assassinated while in office. And yet he was a very kind and loving man, a very wise man, and he meant very well, and he did a lot of good things, including freeing the slaves. He was a great man. But he was put upon. But he when I think about him and I think about that Gettysburg Address, that's why I put it in my book, because it's such a touching sentiment that he read. You read that in my book, didn't you?
Yeah.
But you know, just letting your feelings, your positive feelings, negative emotions, we need to purge. We do not need to let them out. They need to be purged. They need to be eliminated or converted into something that we can say in a loving way. Negative emotions never help anyone. They hurt everyone around. Most of all, the person who's projecting them. So negative emotions are bad. We don't need them, and we better not have them. Positive emotions we need to dwell on. And if you can learn to dwell on your positive emotions every time you speak, no matter what the subject is, think of your positive feelings. I had one guy telling me today that the thing was helping him the most was he was concentrating on his feelings. He's a law student in India. And he said, I'm concentrating on my feelings. I say your positive feelings, because I don't want to get into negative feelings, because the world's got enough of that. We don't need to contribute to that. The positive feelings. If you can get excited And I have other people who love the word excitement. When they speak, they want to think that they're excited about what they have to say. Do you ever think when you speak in class or anywhere that you're really excited about the subject? Do you ever feel that way?
Yeah, sometimes.
You can manufacture excitement. You can also add that smile to your face, that 12th crutch. You can make that smile a part of you and a part of your life. And I promise you this, it'll do more good for you than about anything else you can do. If you simply develop the habit of smiling when you speak, the pressure meter will go whoosh. Say, can I smile when I make this presentation? Can I smile when I ask the teacher these questions? Can I smile when I talk to the stranger? Can I smile even when I'm on the phone? Hello, it's nice to hear your voice. How are you? I'm so glad you're going to be joining us, blah, 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 blah. The more you can smile, every time you smile, you light up in your brain the endorphins. That's the stuff in your brain when you're happy, they're the ones that are acting up. And I swear they transmit, other people can feel them, and they can surely see your smile. If you could really make a cause célèbre, a major objective out of smiling when you speak to your parents, to your friends, to your teachers, everywhere, wear a smile. It costs nothing. Nothing. It'll change your karma. You'll have more friends. You'll like other people more. And you'll have a better time. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about, Matthew? What's on your mind?
Okay.
Well, there's something on your mind. When did you start stuttering? How old were you?
Like age 3. Not sure exactly.
When you talk to me, is it roughly the same as talking to strangers, or is it harder or easier?
I think it's the same.
The same. Good. Um, I think you're doing great. Do you feel as though you can avoid any stutter or block?
I think so.
And what do you do now when the threat comes along? What do you do?
I use a crutch or I like try to pause.
There you go.
I tend to feel when it's like when the block will happen. So I'll like get to it and I'll pause and then I'll start, and if it's still that way then I'll use a crutch.
There you go. Good. Good. And when you have those feelings, it's best to keep your speech short while you're feeling that way, and to
Yeah.
speak in short increments, and use full pauses. Use 1001, 1002. So I say, you know, when I went to school yesterday, I found that I left my books in the car. So I couldn't do my assignments. I had to recite everything from memory. So I just said 4 things or 5, and I put a pause between every one. And I can promise you this. You you heard what I said better, and you remembered what I said better because of my pauses. And you thought what I just said was better than if I'd said, when I went to school yesterday, I left my books in the car and I had to recite everything by rote and I couldn't do it and I had a problem there. It's infinitely better when I insert the pauses, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can do the same thing. And you can learn to enjoy what you're doing. It's fun. You're going from here you are, and here's the stutter guy. You're going over the stutter guy, one bounce to the Good Speakers Club. And you're doing that because you're learning to enjoy it. You're learning to think about your feelings. You're using pauses. You're smiling. I want you to work on that smile, Matthew. Can you do that for me and for
Yeah.
yourself? Okay. All right. Well, anything else you want to talk about today?
I think we covered it.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure, Matthew, and I will see your smiling face next week, same time, same station. Okay?
Okay.
Have a good week.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, Matthew. He is a piece of work, but he has beaten it. He's been over it for some time now. He really has. Okay, it's a pleasure to work with him. If I can get him smiling, I'll be even happier. I hope you're smiling.